Good evening, ladies and gentle beans. Welcome to LOE Endure. It's 3 weeks on Wednesday since the last LOE Endure, so it must be time for another LOE Endure. It's round 8. It's Japan, an awful track. It's a bike track, so I don't know why we race here, but alas, we are. And we've got 53 laps in store ahead, hopefully not in full wet rain, otherwise my evening will be really miserable. And I am joined, delightful to say, by the wit, the wisdom, and the cool charm of Mr. Old School 3000. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm good. I was looking forward to a certain Welshman driving today, but I think he's slept in because of obviously he has a very natural and healthy sleeping pattern. Which means he's asleep at 7 p.m. on a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. But yeah, there's plenty of drivers around. Obviously, we've got a title battle, which is what I love about this though. Is it's always you can carefully manage the title battle to make sure it's interesting because you can just plonk them in slow cars, which is not what they've done so far. But Luke and Noah Luigi are very evenly matched, it seems, at the moment.
Well, yes, let's talk about that because we've got a 6-point gap, a 6.5 point gap, thanks to Ivo's car at front. Oh, I've just heard it's a wet race. I am miserable. Here we go. This is going to be 90 minutes of absolute joy. Well, it'll be longer than 90 minutes because it's a wet race. But anyway, we'll worry about that. We'll cross that overflowing, drowned, flooded bridge when we get to it. Waluigi leads the championship with 658 points. 651.5 for Luca 5HD. He's 6.5 points behind. Then we've got Carl Mentalist on 598, Rocco on 568, Verstappen on 554, Farrell Fury on 542, QVR Campbell on 536. Only 3 races to go, but a DNF for anybody because it is a point per lap. A DNF for either of those top 2. And I'd say there's still 7 people who are just about clinging on to some chance of a title fight there. Behind them, we've got close battles between Brent and Marty, Rickarich and Larkin. Ibo, the stalwart of LOE, is 12th in the championship. He's not picked up. His lowest points tally was 22 at Canada, still more than I managed there. And just quickly, before we get into the meaty joy of qualifying, let's have a look through our grid. So we've got Noah, Jay and Ivor Bryn Michael, should be, in the Mercedes. Sir Ibo, as we're on board with now, an ERS Major in the Red Bull, RJ and Luke in the McLaren, Gary and Calvin, although Calvin isn't here either, in the Aston Martin, Car Mentalist in the Alpine, Marty and Nolan in the Ferrari. I don't know how Nolan's managed to talk his way into a Ferrari being a D2 driver. Waluigi and Rickarich in the Alpha Tauri, Rocco and Larkin in the Alfa Romeo, Justas and Campbell in the Haas, Verstappen and Ariel Nathan in the Williams. Who's your tip then, Mark? Who's your tip for something golden today?
I would say Rocco's going to go well here. I think he's going to do quite well. I think Rick likes this track as well. XL Majors, he's always going to be a problem because I think they'd love to put him in a slower car, but I don't always think they can necessarily justify it. So I'm going to say...
we've got Ibo around. Ibo's around on his first flying lap, and he was getting some stream time as well.
The pressure is on this man because he needs to extend his gap to me in our battle for 13th place in the standings. So yeah, I don't think anyone could ever wish it Ibo bad, but hopefully he doesn't do too well to make it not very interesting, and so he can just shore up the results in the last couple of races.
Well, this is going to be a very important qualifying session because, being a full wet race, albeit on intermediate conditions, the grid order you see will be the finishing order. So it's going to be really a really competitive qualifying session. We'll see no overtakes in the race, I am sure. We've got Ariel Nolan on a lap here. He's going to be the first one to set time, courtesy of Ibo's spin, unless I miscalculated. Coming through 130R here, flicks the car in, very easy, and these generation cars got far too much downforce for 130R to be a challenge, and then into Casio Triangle, as James Head loves to call it, every single lap without fail, and then a short blast to the line. No longer have the F1 2019 bump, and across the line a 29.3 for Nolan. And I've not done my research because I have no idea if that's a good time, although he pips Noah J by just under 0.2 per second there.
I think they're doing low 28s as like optimal times. Might be talking out my backside. I don't think I am though. I think yeah, low 28s are pretty optimal. As if they were going wide again. Verstappen, I can tell you now, Verstappen is not happy with this car. I was just in a quick party with a few of the lads before the race, and yeah, well, the Haas apparently also is an absolute dog, which you would expect, to be completely honest. But yeah, not Luigi.
Championship leader right now, out of qualifying.
Wow. He doesn't want to do that in a race. That is messy.
Ibo's joined him in sympathy. Ibo round at Dunlop, turn 3, for Waluigi. Waluigi had got a time in there, which is massive for him, so he has got a half competitive time in. He's on a 1:30.1. But he's already behind Luke.
That's going to get beaten, but it might not get beaten by some of the slower cars, to be fair. It's fairly competitive, I think.
Oh, we've just got Rocco coming across the line now. Weirdly, we've had everyone, more or less, complete a lap without trouble. Marty and XL Gary stayed in the pits, but otherwise, we've got 15 valid laps on the board, which is bizarre at this point in the qualifying session. I'm not used to commentating and seeing this many laps after just a few minutes. Normally, well, I'm used to D5, and usually it takes about 12 minutes for half the drivers to set a lap there, but this time we've got 12 minutes remaining, and 15 drivers have laps, and they're quite evenly spread as well. We've got 4 in joy anyway. Let's have a look. We've got Nolan on pole still, so that serves me right for saying it. No idea if it was a good lap or not. Clearly it is. He's on pole by 0.2 per second from Noah, J, Luke, and XL Major, Waluigi, and Rocco. The other drivers within a second. We've got Carmentless and RJ and Rickerick split by just 12 thousandths of a second. Another close battle between the D1 drivers of Justas, Nathan, and Campbell. Verstappen's leading the D1 scrap right now of the Williams and the Hasses. Rocco a little bit further ahead. But let's go on board with Marty, who will be the second to last driver to start lap. Gary, who's gone out late as well, will be the last. But I suppose we shouldn't be too surprised, should we? It's very hard to invalidate your lap time here. And if you are going over the curbs, or cutting the corners, or running wide, usually imminent death awaits about 2.5 seconds later, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you can run out wide at Dunlop, and you see the Casio triangle, you can take a bit of a chunk out of. If you get a bit greedy, then you're in trouble. But otherwise, yeah, like you say, I mean, if you ride on board with Marty, you're not cutting anywhere in this section. There's pure grass on the edge of that circuit, and if you touch it, it's not going to end too well. I suppose here you can extend into out of Degnal 1. But other than that, yeah, it's a fairly straightforward lap. As he's setting purples, I don't know whether that is a legit purple, or whether it's just Cody's blessing us.
Well, if he is setting purples, it puts Nolan to shame, because Marty is a division below Nolan, albeit they are in the same car. So we're going to an interesting comparison of some inter-division pace there. We've got a yellow flag for one of the Williamses going slowly, I believe. That is QVR, Verstappen just coming into the pits. But let's have a look at Marty as he now blasts up towards 130 through the middle sector. I don't think he's purple. I think Nolan was in the 1.12s, if I remember correctly. So he's had a bit of a moment somewhere. Mentioned invalidation, I think Degner 1 and Degner 2 is the only place really you can possibly invalidate. Maybe Casio Triangle. If you were being a little bit lazy at the turn 16 and 17, it's a 30.1 for Marty. It puts him 1/1000th behind Rocco, but given Nolan managed 29.3, that's not particularly painting Ferrari driver in a good light.
No, I was about to say this lap is probably because I had a quick look at Nolan's second sector time. I thought, this is going to put him around Rocco, which it definitely has. I think actually I got it slightly wrong. I think a 29.1 was what people were talking about as a golden time in practice from overhearing it. So expect that to be probably where they're going to try and aim, particularly probably XL Major and a few of the quicker cars. I think it's probably out of reach for anyone kind of Alfa Romeo down though.
We've struggled. Well, I say struggled. We've struggled. We're not seeing too many of those D1 drivers in the Alfa Romeos, in the Hasses, in the Williams, really threatening qualifying. It's in the race where they tend to come into their own a little bit more with their consummate and typical consistency. They're used to riding in trains for 36 laps a week, so their race pace is where they reach. I've got a Haas off at Dunlop. I'm not sure whether that's Campbell or Justas, but we're just on board with our provisional pole setter Nolan here, but he's not improving, half a second down through the middle sector. There's going to be no joy for him on his second lap. What about Noah J? Noah J is improving by a quarter of a second through the middle first two sectors, so he's just got that last chicane, turns 16, 17, 18 to hook up now, and if he doesn't bottle it, well, he's going to be on provisional pole in the Mercedes, and he's got just that short dash to line, stays on the right hand side, nicely done. He finds another tenth or so in the final sector, 29.1, that magic time you were talking about. Rickarik has jumped up into third place as well, within half a second of our leaders. And I think a lot of people are on lap times. XL Major was improving, but he's invalidated Degna 1. Rocco's starting a lap. If we've got anyone close to the line, we've got Gary on an in-lap. He hadn't set a lap, he's just popped in. He's 1.3 seconds off the pace. We've got Larkin finishing a lap in the Alfa Romeo. And you mentioned that Haas being a dog to drive. I think all of the Ferrari engine cars have been pretty woeful in this game. I've driven the Alfa Romeo a few times. I can speak from experience. Larkin does improve, but only to P12.
I think there's going to be a few lads riding around with wet setups here as well. We have to consider that. And I know Nolan doesn't. He doesn't tend to do that. I think he tends to strap on a dry setup. I think that will cost a few people in the race. Luke coming through sector 2. He is about 3 tenths down on Nolan's old time, so this is going to put him around car mentalist. Be interesting to see if he can, as his teammate, jumps him temporarily, I would assume, and I think this is going to put him around car mentalist.
Let's have a look. You're a little bit off on that one. 3.5 tenths on the Alpine. Car mentalist had just improved himself, close, in touching distance of Nolan. Must have been a mega chicane for Luke at the end of that lap. And everyone has now set a valid lap time. Waluigi and Ivo have, of course, invalidated. Waluigi slowly sliding down. He is under threat from the likes of Rocco behind him. Speaking of Rocco, Rocco's just got that last fiddly little triple chicane to do. And he's 700s up, so he's well on course to be inside Waluigi's time right now. He just needs to not make a meal of the last corner. I don't think he did. And indeed, he goes up into 8th place, gains 1 place, and it's a 30.096 for him in touch distance of Major. The fact that Major is dominating these D5 races right now, and he's only managing to go 200s quicker of Rocco, with no disrespect to Rocco, is one of the slowest drivers in D1 in a Red Bull, does really illustrate the spread of the pace from the front to the back of the LOE hierarchy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to make something a little bit more hilarious, we've got Justas and Campbell just ahead of Ceribbo. So the wonders of this format, it does always throw up some. What I love about it is you're always battling people that you probably never battle in probably don't even race with in other leagues, because the pace differences are so big. And it's it'd be fun to see how Campbell and Justas deal with the straight line speed of Ceribbo down into turn 1.
I think what speaks testament to that is Campbell was likely probably feel like he absolutely nailed his last lap, and he's improved from 16th to 17th. He has gone 3 tenths quicker than Justas, which I'm sure there's a psychological edge to be had here with the D1 title battle hotting up. Campbell, I think, is only 13 or so points behind Justas in Division 1. I wouldn't know, I'm never near either of them on a Saturday night. Let's have a look. We got anybody on a lap? We've got Verstappen on an lap. We've got Nathan on an in-lap. Nolan has gone out early on for his last 5 laps. Let's go on board with Nolan once again. 200s up in Sector 1. He keeps it nicely in play through Degna 1 and Degna 2 as well. Gets the car straightened early. You want to flick the car to the right-hand side and then bring it in. Wind the car in. You want to straighten the car as early as you can. Get on the power nice and early. Horrible corner if you're on Gran Turismo 7 doing the license challenges. Otherwise, it's not too bad. Keep the car to the right-hand side for the shortest run towards Spoon. Don't spin it out like Seb Vettel style in 2018. Nolan understeers like a boat through there. nowhere near the apex, just about avoiding invalidation, and then gets on the curb on the exit, and that will be an invalidation. It was a good lap up to that point, but Spoon curve, he showed himself to be a bit of spoon through there, didn't he, the D2 driver?
He took too much of the spoon, his cheeks too full there. He's definitely saving Earth, so he's going to go again, I think. Oh no. Ooh, that's a big call, that. And it should be fine, but it's going to be fairly tight. One to keep an eye on.
I think he'll get turned around in time. It's just a case of he's got a set of tyres to use. Presumably he'll have to go back out on the same set, so you wonder why he didn't just go again. Speaking of going again, we've got Gary going for his last lap, and he's the only Aston Martin representative today, so we've got no comparison for Gary's pace. We've got no idea if he's doing well or poorly, but because Ariel Calvin has decided to not show up, and here we go, flicking it through the S's, my least favourite sequence of corners on the entire F1 2021 game. You couldn't pay me to drive these corners for 53 laps in a row. But Gary's threaded his way through there quite nice. Looked a little bit tame. It didn't look like he was absolutely on rails, but he's found a couple of tenths, and he nearly had to get out the throttle there in the middle of Degner 1. He was just a slight risk of going on. Got a yellow flag. I think that's just for some cars going slowly on their out laps. But I mean, I've made my feelings for this track well known. What's your opinion of Suzuka, Mark?
I actually really like it. I'm not going to lie. I really do quite enjoy it. I'm not very good at it. Always carries around.
He's followed his idol. He's imitating. Art imitates life. Gary imitates his idol, Seb Vettel. Comes a cropper at Spoon. That's his qualifying over. Also qualifying over, XL Major. He just did a new Waluigi at turn 2 there. But sorry, you were saying, Mark, about Suzuka.
Yeah, I think it's very fun to drive. I get your opinion. It's deadly. It's not very good for us pad users, but it has a rhythm that I respect. Don't get me wrong, I don't love it in this game. In older games, it's probably one of my favourite tracks, but it's deadly nowadays. I'm not really. I don't like racing it. I quite like hot lapping it.
And I was just watching there and more with Marty. Nolan looked like he was getting ready to give Marty a tow up through 130R, and then decided to bail at Spoon. And I can't think of a worse corner for a car to just drive off the track in front of me to get out of my way. Doesn't seem to have done Marty too much damage though, because he's 6 tenths of a second up, which will put him into a mid 1:29. It put him into P4 right now. He'll just shade out Rickarich, but let's see if he's kept it together through the last couple of corners. And he doesn't beat Rickarich. He's just 11 thousandths off there. Nolan's starting his lap now. Who have we got that's close to finishing? Everybody is... Oh, we got Larkin 2 tenths up coming through the last chicane now. 16, 17. And then the long sweeping 18 stays to the extreme right of the track. Improves, as he did on his last round, to P12. But we'll have to see if he stays there. Gary's improving by a tenth and a half as well on his second run of those tyres. I think Campbell is not... significantly through a lap. Let's see. We are now... Qualifying is now over, so we just wait for drivers to finish the laps. RJ has bottled it at Dunlop. He's copied Ibo there. Who shall we go on board with? Let's go on board with... Nolan's invalidated. Luke's backed off. So
Aiden's coming down.
Yes, let's go on board with Cartman. I couldn't find someone who was on a quick lap then, but he's 700s up through 130R. That'll gain him a couple of places actually if he can keep that up through the final part of the lap, because he's in touching distance of Marty, although Rick has just improved as well, so it needed to be a big final sector to find anything more than one place. In the end, Cummins did not hook up that last chicane and ends up staying exactly where he was in P6, but he's under no immediate threat from behind. RJ is backed off. Major's not finished, but what can Rocco do? That is a mega lap from XL Rocco, a 29.651 up into P5 in the horror that is the Alfa Romeo. We've got Nathan coming through the last chicane now. He's 200s down on his lap as of the end of Sector 2. Has he nailed the last couple of corners, or is he going to stay there? He does find a 10th. He's up into P10. And of course, with a wet start, drivers won't have to worry about qualifying top 10. And in fact, I think that is it. Oh, Noah J! Noah J! 28.9. We got someone sneaking into 28.9s right at the end. He did improve on his time. And takes pole by 400 seconds. Luke, I think, had backed off, so wasn't in danger of improving. And I think that, as they say, will be that.
So 5 different constructors in the top 5.
And you're doing its magic.
Yes, it's a testament to whoever set up the lobby, which is nice and competitive.
I think you have Car Mentalist and QVR Verstappen to credit for that one. So let's run through that qualifying in the end. Noah J on pole by 3.5 tenths of a second in the Mercedes. And it's Nolan on P2 in the Ferrari. Luke is in P3, our championship chaser. Rick is in 4th. Rocco in 5th. Marty is 6th. Car Mentalist is 7th. RJ is in 8th. Major is 9th. Nathan 10th. Waluigi is 11th after that early spin. He only managed to get 1 lap in the session. Larkin did hang on to 12th in the end. Verstappen 13th. Gary 14th. Didn't quite come together for him. Campbell 15th. Just as 16th. The Haas is really struggling. Couldn't get anywhere near those ahead of them. Ibo in 17th. 21.8 seconds off the pace. Just as did improve right at the end. He was 3 tenths off Campbell. He did find another couple of tenths with his last effort, but it wasn't enough to dislodge the Scotsman. And now I think it's time for us to feel really extremely sorry for ourselves.
Oh dear.
Because have a look at that. 53 laps of joy, misery, and moisture ahead of us.
Qualifying was 2019, the race is 2020. That's how I look at it.
Yep, and it's going to be a miserable affair. I won that 2019 D2 race in the Ferrari in these conditions. It started dry though. Did the classic medium to intermediate strategy. Nearly did the same at Russia, I remember, but something didn't quite go my way. Anyway, no one wants to hear about that. Let's have a look then. Let's have a look at the starting tyres because we are a bureaucracy. Oh, look, everybody is on the intermediates there, from Noah J down to Ibo. No bold choices, no one going for the wets, and why would they? Inters all the way through. And so I suppose our question here is it a one-stop or a two-stop, and how many safety cars will there be, and will we see a bona fide on-track overtake?
Or is it a no-stop?
With the Inters, I don't think it will be. I think you're very lucky to find a no-stop race with the Inters, particularly 100%.
Yeah, it's probably a one-stop. I can't imagine. I think what will be really interesting though is the gap starts to form. If there's a safety car, how many positions are you willing to lose with fresh Inters? Because the Inters they don't tend to, in my opinion anyway, the wet tyres don't tend to have that difference as much in pace from usage.
Yeah, there's a very small drop off on the wets. Even on the Inters, it's not as dramatic as it is on the softs or the mediums, for example, in the dry. So there's every chance we could see people really try and eke these tyres out. I think we could see a couple of people, if they're out of position, maybe do go aggressive and try an early pit stop. What you could do, what I would consider here, is an offset one stop. If it's clear that the Inters can go 75% of the race, but also clear they can't do 100% of the race, come in on lap 18, 19, even 15, 16. Put another set of Inters on, and then go to the end. So you get that aggressive undercut because everyone's going to have to make a stop anyway. But you're still one stopping. So that's what I'd be looking at, a sort of offset one stop. Well, at least this means I won't have to have the current tyre graphic up for the entire race. As Verstappen and Campbell come together, the good friends coming together on the formation lap and getting themselves disqualified. And the last thing I'd want to start in this race is some cold tyres. But Mark, give us a winner. I won't ask you for a top 3, but give us a winner. I'm going to say Rick.
I was going to say I always back Rick in the wet. He's just I a horrible little evil man when it comes to this kind of stuff. He's like if he was a meat, he'd be tough steak, and that's how he drives. He's hard to get rid of.
Yes, he's well done. He's done everything in LOE, but we've got 5 lights ahead of us, and we've got Noah on the right of your screen, Nolan on the left. We're underway for round 8 of LOE Endure. They're so timid away. Major had a good start in the middle there. It looked like Nolan's surged into the lead towards turn 1. Who's going to be braver on the brakes towards 2? Noah's going to try hang it out and then just gets hung out to dry on the outside there. Luke's hanging on to P3. Rick in 4th. Rocco and Marty are going side by side towards turn 3. As we come through there, Carmentless is looking to get in on the action, see if he can nab a place there further back. Major's gained a place. I think RJ might have lost one. There's already a bit of a gap forming from Rick back to Rocco, and Rocco's leading a train through the Dunlop curve. He's already fallen some way back of Rickarich, relatively speaking, for the opening lap, but we've not had any dramas so far. Nolan has already blitzed this race. Blitzkrieg warfare from the Ferrari. He's 9/10 of a second clear already, nearly, as they came through Degner, and then had a bit of a sloppy exit. But yeah, very surprised, Mark. But we've had no dramas. But what a start for Justas, up to 13th as well. Nathan gets past RJ there. So does Larkin. Larkin's had a good start. He's got a couple of places as well. I think RJ got a bit of a shove there, possibly from Nathan. And now look at Waluigi trying to get back from that disrupted qualifying session up the inside into Spoon. And this is such a short braking zone. You can't really have a wheel-to-wheel battle through there, but Waluigi's got the balls for it. They're still side by side. Lots of respect given between these two, and I think Waluigi has just about pulled that one off. But yeah, nice and clean on this opening lap.
Yeah, absolutely, and Justas doing really well, up 3 spots in that car. Oh, Nolan must have made a mistake.
Nolan's done something.
Well, unless he's running some very compromised wings for the wet. That's the only thing I can think of.
I wonder if he was very slow off Spoon curve, and that just gave Noah J the chance he needed. So close there between Nolan and Luke through turns 1 and 2. Everyone's hanging on nicely in this train. Of course, no DRS action. We've got Williams off wide in the background. That was Verstappen, I think, defending from Gary. Got a little bit out of shape through 1 and 2. Waluigi's is quite hanging on closely to the back of RJ there. We're going to see a couple, I think, of little mistakes. So that's what we're going to invite opportunities for overtakes. If just drives make a little mistake on the exit, I'm sure we'll see a couple of people die here at Dunlop as well, possibly. But it's got a patient waiting game. We've already got someone died. It's Ibo. He's in the wall. He's lost his front wing. I don't think we'll see a safety car for that. But yeah, what on earth happened to Nolan? And that's the big question after that first lap.
Very strange. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like you say, he must have just maybe got a little wiggle out of Spoon that we didn't catch. Ibo's now in a race against time to get back to the pits and not get lapped, actually, which is not going to be fun for him. Could be a long old night for Mr. Ibo.
I think it could well be, but it could be, in terms of laps, it could be a shorter one than it is for most. Let's have a look at Car Mentalist here. On the back of Marty, there's no point in having the telemetry up because this isn't really an issue, a factor in the way. It's so easy to save, and look how much more confidence and bravery Carmentless had there through 130R. Marty was a lot more timid with his throttle inputs, and that gave Carmentless half a chance. We've got Larkin out of the race at on the exit. He's dropped it, and we've got a virtual safety car, and Marty's gone off under VSC at the last corner, turn 18, and he's lost half his front wing. That was bizarre. Carmentless was just following by. And Marty just speared off to the left of the track on traction at turn 18. The VSC must have caught him by surprise. And his luck, drive-through penalty for Ibo, just Marty's luck is that he picked that up on the exit of the last corner when he'd already passed pit entry.
This is going to cause chaos because Nathan's going to... Does Nathan know? You know, that's the thing, because they would have been quite far... Marty is...
When he's overtaken Marty under VS... Oh, we're back under green, but I think... Was that under SC? As Nathan goes red cross there. Look at RJ nearly hitting the back of Marty through Dunlop. Marty's got, I think, the good sense to get out of people's way. I think Degner here is the worst possible corner to catch everyone. He just avoids Justas Verstappen. Gary there. Penalty for Nathan, and Campbell's going to be the last one to thread his way through as Ibo comes to serve his drive-through, not to change his front wing. So Ibo will or has he still got his penalty? He has changed his front wing, so I think he'll serve his penalty on the next lap, but he will be lapped. But yeah, that was a bit of a horror show for Marty. That lap, I'd have been clenching my butt cheeks all the way through that one, having to let those cars through in probably the worst place you can think of on the Formula 1 calendar, the S's and Degner at Suzuka.
So the top 5 are as they were, which is quite unusual for any race, and I wonder, could this be the most processional race in all of history? It would be our luck, wouldn't it?
It would be. We can have some fun. We can play some Hangman in the comments. I'm sure if it comes to that. Season 5, Division 1, Zandvoort style. Let's have a look at XL Major, close to the back of Car Mentalist. Less than 0.3 of a second now down the main straight. I'm not sure what the straight line speed advantage is of that Red Bull. I think it had a 3 or 4 miles an hour in hand down the main straight, but you have to factor in slipstream into that. We've got Verstappen and Justas in close company through turn 2, and I will be fishing. I will be dangling my hook and my bait deep into the waters of this flooded Suzuka circuit, looking for action this evening on the stream. We see a car get within 0.4. It will appear on the stream because we've got literally nothing else to entertain us. Speaking of, I just saw Major drop to within 0.3 of a second of Car Mentalist. So, we've got a mistake there for Nolan through Degner. He's lost another place. Luke 05HD is through. I think Nolan's got no front wing damage. We can see just another mistake from the Ferrari and another place lost. And now our tip for victory, Rickarich, all over the back of him.
Absolutely. And to be fair, 14 cars still very much in a fight here. As Marty makes another mistake. Marty is really struggling out there. And he is, as Ibo is also...
we've got a Campbell spun.
Oh, wow. So yeah, that's unlike him. That's not going to be... He's now, in the words of the Japanese soup, he is ramen around the back with Martin Ibo. Whilst the other 13 clear off.
Yes, so uncharacteristic from the F2 champion, the newly crowned F2 champion, and a weird place to lose it as well. Halfway between the hairpin and the spoon. I'm sure he'll just say that's because of the boat that Haas is to drive, but we'd expect better from QVR Camel. Let's go back to our battle for second place. It's Luke from Nolan from Rickarich. And Rickarich just biding his time a little bit here. He's sitting back from these two, but holding with them nicely. Noah J has run away a little bit so far. He's 3.3 seconds clear, but you have to wonder if there's a mistake in that Mercedes, and certainly from experience that there will be at some point, particularly on a track like this. We've got another close battle further behind. Rocco outperforming that car in qualifying, really. He's now fallen into the clutches of Car Mentalist and XL Major. So this field's kind of broken up into little pairs and trios. We've got another trio of Justas, Verstappen and Gary. Gary's really struggling for pace this evening in the Aston Martin. He should be clear of these guys, even with D2 tax factored in.
Absolutely. Rolling around in 13th, the former champion in the Aston Martin looks a shadow of himself, and people think he should probably just retire. Art is imitating life tonight.
Art is imitating life. Gary, of course, driving for the Silverstone-based team that he won his championship in when it was the Pink Panther. But it's bringing him no good luck or good fortune this evening in the land of the rising sun. But there is no sun today. It's only rain and misery as far as the eye can see, as Waluigi nearly goes wandering off the track at 130R, following RJ as if they're tied by a bit of string there. Nathan has just broken away from these guys, which surprises me. Nathan, alien pace though he has on occasion, on quite a fair few occasions actually, he's breaking away from what is a really quick McLaren, a well fancied McLaren as well in the gaming community, quite nicely. He's 1.2 seconds clear of RJ, who himself is in a D3 title battle. So I'm surprised at RJ's lack of pace there. He got very wide through turn 2, and it gave Waluigi just a sniff. And I have to say, I think I was raising my voice a bit prematurely there, but beggars can't be choosers, and we are begging for some action on track right now.
I think if Rick can get past Nolan, I mean, I know he's dropped back a little bit here, but I think he's probably got more pace in hand. He's just being Rick. Because he's dropping Rocco. Well, as I say that, he's getting further and further away. But I do think he probably has the ability to potentially go and challenge Noah J, whereas the other two probably don't. I think they're probably maxing out their pace, and that's probably why Nolan's making so many mistakes.
It's very hard to read. I'm finding this early pace so far. It's very fluid. I think it seems to be ebbing and flowing a little bit. You'll be like, no, I just did a bit of a calculation. Currently, we're on course for a 91-minute race, which pretty reasonable there. We've got Carl Mentelis very close to the back of Rocco. Rocco's just got to make sure he doesn't make a mistake. This is Rocco, not in the most comfortable territory. Rocco's at home in a train, third, fourth, or fifth, just riding in the DRS, saving his airs. And now he's having to lead a couple of cars who are clearly over a lap much quicker than him right now. He's not in that comfortable space, that Rocco space that he loves to be, but he's doing a tremendous job right now. As I say that, he goes a little bit deep into turn 2 there. And Major goes very wide at turn 2 and picks himself up a penalty. And we've got, I thought that was an overtake happening then. It's just Noah J lapping Ibo. And on lap 7, Ibo has been lapped. And at this rate, Ibo will get lapped 7 times before the end of the race.
Yes. He needs to be careful of the 90% rule. I will be throwing that to the stewards as I'm battling him. So I'll be keeping a close eye on that one, I think.
Fastest lap for Marty, and if he hadn't have had that horrible moment under the VSC restart, you wonder where he could be right now in this battle, because look at Nolan, tapped the back of that McLaren through turn 3, probably hankering for some chocolate with seeing that husky chocolate sign. And no one's going to go for it in Spoon Curve. This is not advisable, but Luke was very happy to give up that place, and I'm amazed no one had the audacity to pull that off. I would have felt properly like a proper mug if I'd been overtaken there, but Luke clearly in a title fight, not in the mood with Waluigi down in 10th. He'll take the lead of the championship as it stands. Noah J has extended his lead to 3.8 seconds. It's just extending a little lap by lap. Nothing dramatic, but he has got a comfortable 2 or 3 tenths in hand over those behind. We'll see how that changes now with Nolan back into second place, although it doesn't seem to be doing any favours for the... Oh no, Major!
He lost it under traction. I was riding on board with him, and he hit the pit wall. Oof.
We just caught that, and we've got a safety car, and we just caught the back of that in the back of shot there as Carl Mentelis and Rocco were coming through. Well, we knew there were going to be mistakes at some point. I think we're too early for anyone to come into the pits, although Gary, with a big gap behind him, takes opportunity. Although, then again, why would he? Because he just put himself behind Campbell now, and he's not really... He's going to still have to make another stop, probably, between now and the end of the race.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, because maybe they don't have to. Maybe they're looking at it and thinking, hang on, I could actually... I don't know, Inters don't wear that much. Could they? I mean, could that have been just a little bit of difference that they needed? I don't know. Marty's pit.
I mean, obviously, I have no idea how the Inters perform here, but just on my experience, I feel like 45 laps out of 53 on a set of Inters, on the general pattern of this game, would be a staggering accomplishment, or it would be an outlier in terms of the tyres. But you never know. Gary's kind of got nothing to lose in the position he's in. He only lost 1 place to Campbell, although with the conditions being the way they are, he will not get that place back now. He will not re-overtake Campbell until Campbell pits. So,
see, what I find interesting as well is if they can do it, I'm hoping that half of them do come in and half of them don't.
Yeah.
Then that might create some disparity.
I don't mind if it's between... Surely they're going to stay out. I don't mind if it's between a 1-stop and a 2-stop, or a no-stop and a 1-stop, but I want to see some varied strategies. Everyone's staying out, I think. Indeed, yes, they are. We've got Ibo coming in. Ibo's sensibly coming in, actually, because any 75-second penalty, that's why. But Nolan, obviously the unlapped cars cannot unlap themselves on the game a la real life. So Nolan was stuck behind Ibo, which Ibo would have been ghosted and let him through straight away, but it would have denied Nolan the chance to have a run at Noah J if he gets a poor exit towards turn 1. So that has now been freed up, so we've got a clean fight between these two. And if Nolan can sort his mistakes out, maybe he has got a chance to have a go for it. Something I want to quickly say at this point, because I hadn't really considered it. I want to know how Nathan's managed to get a 3-second penalty in, 6 laps? 5 laps? At Japan, in the wet, no less. That's harder to do than not do. Yeah.
I think what's going to be really interesting, actually, there is a bit of another wrinkle here, is that Marty, we saw him set fastest laps. He's obviously quick, so he might be our chance of a bit of action and a bit of fun, because obviously he's going to get back.
Oh no!
No
what on earth?
No way!
Oh, I wish we were with Noah J for that. That was on the That was nowhere. That's not a place you spin. Even Campbell was further down. These drives are at 40% or less normal speed. Even in the wet, I don't know how you do that. Unless Noah just had a brain fart. I mean, there's no excuse for that. If Noah had a brain fart, he completely... Yeah.
What on earth?
Pure...
What on earth has gone on?
Dumbfounded stupidity from Noah J. Retires from the race. If you're just joining us, we have another addition to the pantheon of LOE greats who have crashed out or spun out under the safety car, along with Cookie Games, Belgium Season 3 D2, NSX Montana Bahrain Division 1 Season 6, They Hate Melty, Jeddah Division 5 Season 7, which was an absolute hysterical moment. Actually seen 2 of those. Ocon Corrupt also did it Australia at the end of the VSC period. And now we've got another one. We've got Noah J in the lead in Endure. So it's actually quite a growing club of drivers who have spun out from the lead under SC and crashed out.
I'm going to run off very quickly for 1 minute. I'm going to hope to be back for the restart. Just give me 1 sec and I'll be back.
No bother. Let us... yes. Well, let's have a look at the current state of play, really. So, let's have a look at position change. So, the Noah J retirement has done wonders for the greens and the reds of the position change board. So, and Car Mentalist has gone as well. Car Mentalist has hit the wall at Dunlop and lost his front wing. Old School 3000. I wish you were here. It's raining carbon fibre out on track under this safety car period more than it is wet weather. Car Mentalist has lost a front wing end plate, inexplicably so. Well, you wouldn't expect that from a D2 title contender. Well, actually, no, you would, because Cookie Games did the exact same thing in Belgium, Season 3. So actually, that is precisely what one would expect from a D3 title contender. As Ibo now passes Noah J's stricken car from the point he's at a lap down, and he's at the back of the field. He's just got Car Mentalist and Marty behind him. Car Mentalist will have to pit at the end of this lap, but we will get safety car in this lap because the whole field is bunched up. It's nicely together, so we're ready to go racing again. Nathan up into 5th place, as I was going to say before. Car Mentalist crashed. 5th place gain for him. Big gain for Justas as well. Justas in the top 8 now. Verstappen and Campbell also made big gains, coming into their own. As I said, the D1 guys tend to do when we come into the race. We've got safety car in this lap. Nathan has dropped back quite a way from our race leader Nolan, and the safety car in this lap message actually came very late because Nolan backed off earlier than the Sector 2 line, nearly forced the safety car out for another lap because he backed off earlier than he should have done. The safety car didn't register him being there in time, but we are back underway now, and look at this, we've got Rocco and Nathan side by side down the Bain Straight. Old School 3000's back with us, and look, we've got some cracking action towards turn 1 here. Who's going to come out on top if we get a nice camera angle? Rocco just about holds on, but Old School 3000, Ariel Car Mentalist, hit the wall at Dunlop under that last lap under safety car all by himself, and has had to come into the pit lane. We haven't had a second driver throw it away under SC, but otherwise no changes to position on the restart.
I saw Nathan get very close. I think he actually overtook Rocco, then gave it back. I think they're in the same party, and Rocco was probably shouting at him.
Well, Nathan hasn't said a word in any channel of any description since he lost the F2 title, so I'd be surprised if Nathan did that. I think he just didn't want to be on the inside of turn 1. What's happened to Marty? Marty's lost his front wing.
Oh my god!
I don't want to blame you for that one, but you fully took that
gone.
up.
He's gone.
He's got no front wing at all. I think that's a better line to take through Degner. If you've got no front wing, to be honest, minimises the angle of the corner.
Slows you down as well.
Yeah. So your boy Rickerick though doing very well, sticking with Luke on the 17th lap. Luke has slipped back 1.2 seconds from Nolan. Rocco's fallen back as well. I think in part he was compromised by the assault of Nathan. And Nathan, with the Williams, is going to have superior straight line speed here. He's got his ERS activated, coming down 130 yards, safely and sensibly disables it through that fast left-hander. But
Luke with a massive mistake. And then Rick had to kind of get out of it a little bit. Oh, if Rick would have been a bit more prepared there, then he could have had the move done, but Luke's looking very precarious. Gary's not really doing much, is he, with those fresh tyres?
Yeah, it was a nonsensical decision in my view, because he's just put himself behind Campbell, but he's got nothing really to show for it. Because he'll probably have to make an no-stop anyway, unless you say he's doing a no-stop from here. I think J. Cole is in the stream chat, and I think he is jeffing Gary. So if that was J. Cole's call, right now looking like an absolute shambles. But it's brought Campbell back into play. We've got Carmen has passed Marty. That's just because Marty's in the pit lane. So where's our big battle right now? We've got a bit of a Rocco train forming, as was the case beforehand. Although I say that, Nathan made a bit of a mistake through Degner and has just slipped to a second behind. But RJ, Waluigi, Justas, Verstappen, Campbell, Gary, all keeping in formation nicely. Up front, the gaps have strung out a little bit. Rick hanging to the back of Luke, but otherwise there's a bit of a spread among the top 5. And do you think we'll see any overtakes coming any time soon? We're only on lap 12. It feels like it's been an eternity, but we are only we're not a quarter of the way through the race at the end of the next lap.
I think I can see Rick capitalising on a mistake. I think someone has to make a mistake, unfortunately, here in this kind of conditions. It's never going to be a clean, kind of beautiful move, is it? But I can see Rick getting there at some point, and I can see Luke just dragging it wide somewhere, or just hitting a curb, and then Rick getting alongside and making it done.
Well, Rick was very close out of the straight, 2 tenths per second, and you'd just be watching Luke corner after corner, and I know I would be in this situation. You're just hoping for scraps, really. You're just looking for a slightly wide line, a slightly missed braking point, just go a few meters deep. You look for any kind of incentive just to spur you on, because it can be quite demoralising sitting behind another car in the room with no way to overtake. You will know well. My experience of that. Brazil last season in Division 2, your teammate did a tremendous job for you there, and I had to suffer for about 15 laps. But less said of that, the better. Rocco now 2.3 seconds behind Rickerick. Luke 2.1 behind Nolan. But Rocco's doing a good job, isn't he? He's slow, but no one behind is making any impression on him whatsoever.
No, the gaps are very normalised. Oh, who's that? It's Marty again. Yeah, Marty dropped it again. He needs to be careful. If he gets a lap down, then that is a race run.
Well, at least he's got a full complement of front wing elements this time, which is more than be said for his previous excursions. Luke and Rick, once again, very close, coming through turn 18, as is the Rocco snail train, I suppose you could say, because they're all slow together, aren't they? I mean, RJ's dropped right back off Nathan on this lap, and the whole train itself just is not, there's big gaps. There's a thick end of a second between all of them. So they come down the start-finish straight. There's no one in this looks like they could make any impression further ahead of them. And I think, with the exception of maybe Nathan and Rocco, and Rick and Luke right now, they're in pace order. And if you're in pace order, it's hard to see where an overtake's going to come from.
Yeah. I think the only, like I say, I think Rick probably is misplaced slightly behind Luke in these conditions in particular. Obviously, they're in a bit of a scrap for the D3 title, which Rick is doing very well in. As Marty sets another fastest lap, when he does that, he normally bins it a couple of laps later, though. That's the only problem. But yeah, Gary just having an absolute Western supermare behind two Hasses. Yes, that's doing bloody well. Give him that. 8th in a Haas. Not bad.
Well, if I know Excel Gary, he won't care that he's 11th. He'll just be absolutely ecstatic that he's ahead of Car Mentalist.
Absolutely. This is
Gary will not give two hoots if he's in 11th, so long as he's ahead of the Alpine driver. Gary just has a permanent fixation with that man that is inexplicable even by science. Rick, if he was going to have a look towards turn 1, he botched his chance there. Turn 17 and 18 were a little bit messy. Slipped to 6 tenths per second. I think Nolan had a mistake at the hairpin on the last lap. It was 2.7, and then it slipped 2.4 through one corner. So he's not immune. I mean, we saw a couple of mistakes earlier. He's not immune to the occasional slip up, and he certainly got to be mindful of that. Even though he has a 3-second lead, he can afford just to ease it up slightly here. But he's not dominating in the way you might have feared a D2 driver being in the Ferrari. He seems to be doing all right for himself so far. And
Rick dropping back a bit.
Yeah, I was going to say the same for, look at that, just as Verstappen, Campbell, all now seconds behind the car.
Does Rick have damage? Because he's losing tenths.
I think he must do.
Rick has damage.
He must have damage because he's lost, as you say, seconds this lap already. Corner by corner, he's hemorrhaging time right now, is Rick. There's nothing visible on the front wing. So it is light damage, but all the same. Unless he had a problem, unless someone came in to talk to him, of course, perfectly possible. We'll see how it changes on the next lap, but I can't see. There's nothing visible on his front wing, but we'll have to see how it goes if he comes into the pits or how it evolves through the S's at the next lap. Because I think there's no greater test of the front downforce of these cars or the damage to any front wing than the S's here, because they require, even the slightest ping of understeer, you'll feel it dramatically.
What on earth? He stayed out. That's so strange.
It could be floor damage if he's running over a curb or a barge board or side pod, which wouldn't be fixable, so he'd have to suffer with it. And he didn't lose time through sector 1.
Yeah, he's fine now. So this is very strange. I don't know what that was.
I wonder if something had just briefly caught his attention. It just caused him to back off for a second or two. As you say, it's fine now. He's taken 2 tenths out of Luke in the first sector of this lap, and Rocco already slipping behind. Let's go on Gary watch.
Noah's wheel, unfortunately, disconnected.
And
I'm going to believe that. I'm going to believe that one, because I don't think too many people rage quit from winning a race under a safety car. And Jacob's saying no more radio until the end of the race for Gary. I think Gary's not too pleased with Jacob's goal.
Well, in other news, if there's any football fans around, Arsenal have taken the lead at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea in tonight's big clash. Leicester also winning at Everton, if you are a Premier League fan. So not a good night for any Chelsea supporters, of which there are none in the commentary box. Lampard losing, Chelsea losing. Tragic mistake it was from Andreas Christensen that let, I think, is that Eddie Nketiah through? I'm not too sure. 3.8 second lead for Nolan. He has set a fastest lap of the race. Let's have a look at fastest laps, actually.
41.7 for him, 41.8 for Rick, the only men in the 141s at all in this race. 42.2 for Luke. So those top three really are all by themselves. So 41.7, 42.2, 41.8, and then everybody else a 2.8, a 2.8, a 2.9, a 2.7, a 2.8, a 2.8. 3.2s for Gary and Campbell. Gary on fresh tyres, can't even get in the 142s. 42.5 for Car Mentalist, again on fresh tyres. Marty's on a 42.0, he's very out of all sorts. And a 47.0 for Sir Ibo. Hasn't come within 5 seconds of our fastest lap of the race so far. And, well, he will be lapped for the second time, I think, within the next 15 laps or so.
I'm going to ask you a devious question. Next DNF, surely there's going to be another. I have a theory. I'll let you go first.
I'm going to say Marty. Purely by history in this race, not just history this season, but history in this race and history this season, say that Marty is I think barely better than half, I think, to get through this race unscathed. And Rick, I think, set a purple middle sector there. But what's your theory, Mark?
I think Rocco, because I think he's driving absolutely out of his skin. He's getting the absolute maximum out of that car, and I think at some point it's going to bite him. Could he also argue on that basis Nathan and Justas as well?
I think there's every chance of that, although Justas has got Verstappen and Campbell behind him, so he's not being pressured by necessarily quicker drivers in quicker cars. I think it's just a case of Rocco is holding this pace at a level that's kind of comfortable for everybody right now. The one that seems to be struggling the most, or purely because I'm surprised that they're not making more of an impression in front of them, is XLRJ. He's not really threatened the back of Nathan's Williams at all, and he's in a very quick McLaren. Waluigi obviously clearly doesn't like this track, given he spun out in qualifying. None of these guys, although Campbell's really fallen off this lap, 1.8 seconds now behind Verstappen. Thankfully, there's no DRS to compound the issue, but Campbell's not having a happy day today either, is he? Gary, not really capitalising that. Campbell's dropped off the back of Verstappen, but Gary's not really taken any kind of advantage, has he?
Well, one thing I will say, if he is one-stopping, he is our net leader.
I think it's a matter of time before that changes. He's 17.3 seconds off the lead and lapping a second and a half off the pace of Nolan, but sure, I'll indulge you. Gary, XL Gary, is the net leader of this race. And if J. Cole is still jeffing Gary, let him know that information, spur him on, tell him to overtake QVR Campbell and give us a bit of a race on our hands. Verstappen and Justas the closest lap, but there's no point really saying too much about it because, well, we know it's not going to lead to an overtake. And
we are starting to enter the realms of interesting pit times. You know, are they going to do what you suggested?
And breaking news, Chelsea have equalised against Arsenal.
Absolutely get in there, Lewis.
Timo Werner with the goal took a heavy deflection and it squirmed under the arm of the Arsenal goalkeeper. No idea who it is. Ramsdale, possibly. Rick is 1.8 seconds behind Luke. He's really hauled that time back in since his distraction a few laps ago. It was 3.3. It's now 1.6. He has set a fastest lap of the race in the meantime as well, 41.681. Still one of only two men in the 41s with Nolan. So your prediction of who could win this race, I think there's every chance Nolan makes a big mistake at some point in this race. Rick can certainly take this win, but he needs to get past Luke, and I think what we'll see is that as soon as Rick gets to within half a second of Luke, that pace advantage will vanish because there's just no window for overtaking.
Yeah. It's just a question of whether Nolan can hang on, effectively. Oh, we have an overtake.
RJ's past Nathan. That must be some kind of mistake because RJ's no further back from Rocco than he was beforehand,
but Nathan certainly is. So I think as Nathan made a mistake at Spoon, which left him vulnerable to the McLaren, because this duo, 1.6 seconds behind Rocco, said RJ's not really fallen back relative to Rocco. It's just Nathan's made a mistake. We've got another really close battle. Look at Verstappen now on Justas. You wait so long for overtake, and we could get two come along at once. Justas squeezes Verstappen to the extremities of the track there through turn one. Nothing quite doing for the Dutchman, but that was so close to an overtaking. You have to say that Verstappen probably spent laps setting that one up, and then he's going to have to wait another 10, 15 laps for another opportunity. But as you said, we are threatening pit stop territory here.
I don't know. I think it's obviously a one stop, because otherwise they would have pit way before. But is it that tight? You know, I would imagine there should be some undercuts. If I'm Rick, I'm undercutting. Hopefully Luke didn't hear that. If I'm Rick, I'm 100% undercutting.
I can only assume we wouldn't have seen someone come in for that, said that sort of offset one stop with an early go. We've only got 33 laps to go now. I would have thought the Inters could possibly do that, but or probably do that. So maybe a no stop is on the cards. Maybe you were right all along here, and there's a no stop on the cards. I say that we could see pit stops this lap. Well, I suppose we could have seen pit stops any lap. Have we got anyone coming in? Have we talked it up? No, we haven't. But Rick, he's now 1.2 behind Luke. Another couple of tenths this lap. He's got really good pace, and behind him, that train that was a Rocco train. Oh, Waluigi's into the pits. We did talk it up.
See, the other factors you can think about as well is that maybe if there is a slight offset, people are thinking, well, actually, what if I stay out and wait for the safety car? You know, we've seen Marty spin a few times, seen Car Mentalist spin. Cerebro's still in the race. With the greatest of respect, he's not looking too sure of himself out there. Why not just stay out and wait for it?
Speaking of it, though, he's about to get lapped here by Nolan and misses the corner, letting the Ferrari go. I just want to Nolan watch. He's 5.5 seconds clear now of Luke, and on Rocco watch, he's 7.5 seconds behind Rick. So I think, yeah, with the exception of Rick and Luke, I think we are very much looking at a race that's in pace order here. Nathan has fallen back from RJ since that overtake. RJ has edged. He's taken a second out of Rocco nearly since that move on Nathan. So RJ, from as I said, was looking the disappointment of the train. Is now threatening to be the superstar, shall we say?
Let's keep an eye on that gap from Gary
Campbell's
to
close back in as well.
Yeah. This is. I mean, Waluigi looks to be making. He's making a lot of time.
He's 18.1 behind Gary now. He's using all of his reserves because you can see the gap coming down the straight. Nolan sets fast lap at 41.652. Maybe we are just moving towards some pit stops now. Rick is within a second of the back of that McLaren. We've got RJ into the pits, and he's going for that undercut on XL Rocco ahead of him. So they are coming in now. They're coming in dribs and drabs, but they are starting to come in. RJ needs a new front wing. That's why his pace was lacking in the McLaren. A new front wing for RJ. And I'm going to make a wild speculation here and say that RJ had his front wing change set to auto and had no idea he needed a new one. Because he's now put himself to the back of that train. And I think he had no idea he had damage. So he will be kicking himself because he's now come out, 5 seconds behind Waluigi, only just ahead of Car Mentalist, thankfully for him. Marty blitzes the fastest lap by half a second there. But yeah, RJ, he's lost that time to Waluigi. He's going to come out behind Nathan, behind Justas, behind Verstappen, behind Campbell, possibly even behind Gary. He needs a really big in-lap here, just to hold an out-lap, just to hold on to that place against Campbell. Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, interesting, the undercut from Waluigi definitely worked because he gained the 5 seconds clear of the wing change. What it roughly takes, I think. And but he was quite far behind, so I think the undercut worked very well for the Waluigi. We'll probably see he gets past this lap, it'll probably give us an indication.
No stops up front for any of our leading trio. What about Rocco? What's he going to do? He's now 8.7 seconds behind Rickerick, who's just continuing to lose time. Nathan stays out as well. He's still making no impression or looking likely to get back on terms with the Alfa Romeo. Just stays out as well, as does Verstappen, as does Campbell, as does Gary. No one's reacting to the undercut attempts of Waluigi and RJ, which has got me thinking, is this a no-stop or are they goal-hanging for a safety car?
If I'm Luke or Rick, I'm pitting because Nolan can't. Because Nolan, I don't know the exact pit lanes loss here, but I imagine it's early 20s. Because at the moment, Nolan would come out right in the middle of that train, whereas Rick and Luke would come out behind it. So it's interesting. I think in some ways the front three are kind of a little bit walled in to staying out. But if anyone could probably get away with it, it'd probably be one of those two, as Rick is really gaining now.
I just had a look at the fastest lap time, something that you never see on a stream, but we're going to have a look at them today. I think the reason why people fade out is because the lap times are improving. So those guys that were doing high 42s, they're slipping into the mid 42s now. Rocco's on a 42.5, 42.4 for Justas, 42.6 for Verstappen, 42.6 for Gary. Gary and Campbell were in the 43s when we looked previously, so they are finding time in the tyres they've got as the fuel load burns off, and I wonder if that is what kind of is the factor in them staying out as long as they have. Waluigi did do a 41.8, so he's joined the 41 club last lap, as has Carl Mental. He's done a 41.7. So Waluigi would have gained a fair bit. I'm intrigued to see what RJ's best lap is as he crosses the line at the end of this lap. 41.5 for Luke now. That's his fastest lap of the race on the last lap. He really responded to Luke's pressure. He only had just dipped into a 41.9. He's now in the mid 141s, on pace with the leaders, bettering Nolan's personal best and bettering Rick's personal best as well. So Luke actually with the fastest lap of any of that front three. But I want to see what RJ does across the line. Ooh. Penalty for Nolan. That could be big for this race through Degner, presumably. But it was a 41.7 for RJ. Waluigi set a 41.6 as well. Also new personal bests for Verstappen, 42.3. So there is really everyone's putting a push on here. Everyone is setting personal bests right now. Everyone's finding time. But Waluigi, RJ, Car Mentalist, all about a second quicker than those they were fighting. Speaking of seconds, Arsenal have picked up their second goal of the evening. It's 2-1 to Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. So again, terrible news for any Chelsea fans listening, of which there are none in the commentary box.
Nathan with another pen. 6 seconds for him.
That is an achievement.
Unbelievable. I'm really intrigued now. I'm really intrigued as to what.
Oh, look at that time.
Well, is this going to go soft? There's no spray.
Well, that would be.
I think that's what they're thinking. I think that's the reason why they're staying out, because I can't see any spray at all.
Is someone going to try it? That would be a gutsy call. But if you're in, Gary's position or Campbell's position, it's worth a shot.
If they're stuck on mediums, not the tyre you want to go on, you want to go on softs, but yes, okay.
Let's just have a quick look if there are any improvements in the back. Waluigi 41.5. And obviously a big lap for Rickerick, 41.0. Luke did a personal best as well at 41.3. These two are now quicker than Nolan. They have been for the last 2 laps. Personal bests all round, including some purples for Rickerick there. Fastest lap of the race by a mile, at least for those in a competitive position. Marty, we don't count. He's stat padding down there at the background. 6.4 is the gap right now, and because of Luke's really up the pace, Rick hasn't been able to make quite the same impression even with that scintillating pace, and they've really left Rocco behind. Look at Rocco's gap now, 12 seconds it is.
and Rocco's under no pressure behind. These cars, the Alfa, the Williams, the Haas, they're just so slow. 40.7 for Nolan. And again, I'm going to bring out the fastest lap times. I want to see any improvements. Yes, a 41.1 for Luke. They're really finding time, these front three, is the fuel's burning off. And as you say, the spray's going down. Big improvements for everybody up the front. Nathan just set a personal best as well, as has Justas. They're edging towards the low 42s now. Campbell and Gary are still some way off, but I'm really intrigued by the pace improvement that we're seeing here.
I'm right on board with Ivo. I don't think it's quite right, but it's not looking that wrong. Does that make sense? It's not laughably a bad decision.
Well, let's dip out of the stream briefly, this interlude. Let's have a look at Ivo's sector times.
He had a bit of a crash.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that was to do with his
6 seconds off. But Ivo's sector times are so woefully inconsistent that you could never tell anyway. But then I think that is pretty damning. His turn in there to the last chicane.
Mate, I think the softs could work. I think the softs maybe-ish could work. I don't know. But it's another wrinkle. It's another reason why I think this lot are all staying out. Because it's a big risk, isn't it?
Well, yeah, lap 26, we're at, halfway through lap 27. We'll be on half distance. So the fact no one's coming in is strange, but you can only assume, as you say, it's because of a safety car threat. Rickerick and Luke, personal bests again. 40.8 this time for Rickerick. Rocco's doing really good job there. Really solid job. As you said, driving out of his skin and putting in really consistent lap times. Just as improves to a low 42.3. I think this is where the competition is really right now. It's just trading personal bests because we're not really seeing any relative movement in terms of the gaps. So as one improves, so does the other. Although Luke, 5.3 behind Nolan now. That was 6.5 seconds, not a couple of laps ago. So they are making moves, these two, very slowly, as Nolan passes Ivo there for the second time this evening.
Hate from Luke there. He hit 100% on his battery. Yeah, I hate it when I see that because that means you're just not using it and forcing yourself face out.
It's more forgivable in the wet. It's much easier to save time. And, we go back to Stamford Bridge because it's now 2-2. 31 minutes gone. We've had 4 goals. Cesar Azpilicueta has scored for the team chasing third place in the Premier League.
I'm so pleased that we stood in for someone that isn't actually racing to not watch that awfully sounding, boring, terrible football game that we have absolutely no interest in whatsoever anyway. I'm really happy we're here at a wet 100% LOE Endure this evening.
I could not be more delighted. Let's have a look at Verstappen. Actually, let's look at Gary. Gary Watch is back with us, ladies and gentlemen. He's closing in on the back of QVR. Campbell, 0.5 of a second is your gap. But elsewhere in the football world, it remains Everton 0, Leicester 1. Newcastle have taken the lead against Crystal Palace. And after 20 minutes, it's Man City 0, Brighton 0. Of course, if Man City failed to win, Liverpool will remain top of the Premier League. And look at Gary here, having a look around the outside of Campbell. He's kissing wheels there with Campbell, front right to rear left, tyre face to tyre face. Gary bored of sitting behind. He's gone for another move, but someone tell Gary if he hadn't made a nonsensical pit stop, he wouldn't have had to make that overtake.
Yeah, absolutely. The Russian livery car was leaving absolutely no space. No Lubenstrom there for Gary, unfortunately for him, but he is suffering. And like you say, he's lost time to the guys ahead, so that pit stop was ill-advised.
Very ill-advised. The fact that no one did the same. Elsewhere in sports, it's Angers 0, PSG 0 for any French viewers. Strasbourg taking the lead against Rennes. And in La Liga, it's Celta Vigo 0, Getafe 2. Atletico Madrid and Granada played out a 0-0 draw. That finished about half an hour ago. Keeping you informed across all festivities and events this evening, we provide a service and we provide it well.
LOE Sports News.
LOE Sports News brought to you by smoothradio.fm. I have been your host, Killblue295. Well, have we got any action to speak of? No, we have not. So I'm going to ask you... sorry, you were going to...
No, I'm just looking. No.
So let's look ahead to some other action right now. We've got F1 Sprint returns this weekend at Imola. Are you a fan of F1 Sprint, and do you think we'll see an entertaining one, or do you think we'll see a bit of a procession as we did in Monza last season?
I'm a fan of the concept at certain tracks, and Monza it should definitely be used, because qualifying there is a joke anyway. With the although it probably won't be now, because of the less kind of draggy kind of feature for the car following. I think it's a good idea. I think it's good to mix things up. Let's not forget this qualifying we have now. It never used to be like that. It just used to be an hour. People just bazzing it around. You know, find what works. If it doesn't work, that's fine. But doing it at Imola is bloody strange. I will say that. I can't see it being that interesting, but I like the principle of the concept. Just don't really like the execution.
Oh, we've got car mentalist round at Degner 2, nearly running wide on the exit there, dipping a wheel in the gravel, brought out a yellow flag briefly. Are you expecting that Ferrari dominance to continue this weekend, or are you?
Yes, at this particular track, almost. I feel like certainly. What do you think? Merc might be back for Miami.
Well, I'd heard that Mercedes were hoping, not because of upgrades, but just because of the nature of the track, were optimistic for Imola, given the abundance of low-speed corners there. There aren't really any high-speed corners at Imola. Certainly not ones in the sense there are at Spa or Silverstone. So, which does favour the Mercedes, it seems to be so far this season. It's worth noting at this point. Again, we've still seen no pit stops. No pit stops. From that leading group.
How is this happening? Are they going to the end?
I can only assume everyone's collectively, through osmosis or hive mind or something, has agreed there's a safety car coming at some point.
If I'm Rocco, I'm making it interesting. I'm pitting.
If I was Rocco at this point, I'll go to the end. Rickerick is close to being able to pit and rejoin ahead of Rocco. That's worth noting. He could do a Hungary 2019, France 2021 cheeky second stop and just go for it, because why not? But of course, the risk with that is no one's got a 3-second penalty. You want to be in range in case something happens. And is he confident enough in his pace that with a fresh set of tyres he can make 20-odd seconds back up? I say that, Nolan's into the pits.
Wow, so is Rick. What's gone on here? Inters and inters. Why overcut? I don't... I suppose it's a... Stay out as long as you can. I still think it's a bit strange. Wow. Now...
Rocco is gonna... Oh no, this is awful for Rick. This is awful for Rick. Look at where he's come out. He's ahead of Campbell and Gary.
Yeah.
Oh no, Rick, my friend, you've botched this one.
Wait a couple more laps. Yeah, wait a couple more laps because this has worked pretty perfectly for Nolan.
Well, let's have a look at gap to leader. Let's keep an eye on gap to leader. Because Rick is 23.5 seconds behind Luke, and we know Luke is comfortably quicker than the likes of Verstappen. Yes, that's Nathan. So we've got to see if Rick has got any kind of... Well, he's going to have to force his way through this traffic if Luke stays out for more than another lap.
He might be slightly lucky because I feel like he's only going to get penalised a little bit here. Oh my goodness! That was a bit close. I think if he can... Oh, but that's... If he didn't get so close, he could have got into the back of Verstappen, and then he could have gone for it around here. I think he's a good distance here. He's a perfect distance. Focus on the exit, put the power down, use the engine. That was a good one. Nope, awful exit. Another lap of pain.
I'll tell you what, Verstappen is using his overtake to defend. So Verstappen clearly feels like this is a battle worth having and a battle worth fighting. So maybe Verstappen, maybe you were right, and these guys are looking at going to the end. And I'm intrigued. I would have loved to see a Nolan-Rocco battle. I would have loved to see a Nolan-Rocco battle, but Nolan's lead was such.
Is Luke going to win this race by an absolute mile? That's now the danger.
Yeah, well, I don't think he'll win it by a mile. I think Nolan will have a big pace advantage because if he can overtake when he gets there. Rickerick was 23.5 seconds behind Luke. He's lost 0.4 per second on that lap. So he's in a dangerous situation as Rick. He was looking like he could win this race. He's now looking like he's in danger of not winning it at all. Oh, we've got a yellow flag, Marty. And if this is a safety car, it's not. Oh no, he's driven straight into the wall. He's lost his front wing. That can bring out a safety car. I think we dodged that one.
Gary's only 3 seconds behind Rick, and they've both made a stop.
Rick's passed Verstappen into the hairpin, and I don't think Verstappen or like that. He's going to fight this one. It's a drag race down towards Spoon. I think they were rubbing tyre faces there. Verstappen not too happy, not a happy bunny on this the week after Easter weekend, and he's going to let that one go. Yeah, that was a Crofty-esque reach there for some relevancy. But Rick is through. He's lost a second though to Luke since he's come out of the pits, as Luke has lost a second himself to Nolan. But Luke's made his first move. Sorry, as Rick, he's made his first move. He's passed Verstappen. He now needs to get past Justas and Nathan in no short order, and then Rocco has to follow as well. And we know Rocco's no easy bean to overtake.
Waluigi is he's actually gapping RJ, which I think is quite interesting. He's not out of the woods for a good performance here, Waluigi.
He's in well, they've nearly caught up to the back of this train. If these guys need to pit, then Waluigi will be really in no man's land. He's 7 seconds ahead of RJ, and what is he? He's 8 seconds behind Rickerick, 7 seconds behind Rickerick, so he's in danger really of having to drive a very long race. I mean, he is doing that already, but even then to the end of the race if we have stops incoming. Rocco is nearly, if he isn't already, out of Luke's pit window, so we could see Luke come in now. If Luke was trying to had a bit more street smarts than Rick, and was just trying to avoid getting caught in this train, he's now in a position in maybe a lap or two where he can comfortably come in and retain his advantage.
Rick needs to be careful here because Justas is not. He's an aggressive he has been careful. He's put off the overtake. Justas isn't going to take getting dived up the inside that well, and takes out of it at the last second, which I think was probably wise. Yeah, he's going to have a hard time getting past Justas. I've raced him in this Haas, and he is ultra aggressive. Very fair, but on the limit.
I mean, Justas has got a P4 finish in the Haas on the cards if he was to get it through 19 laps. I mean, we're saying this, we've got no idea if these Inters will go all the way. They won't. Based on the way Verstappen tried to defend from Rick, I wouldn't say it's unreasonable to assume that there is every chance. Oh, and Justas has a little wobble there through turn 5, I think that is, and Rick hits the back of him. And another big moment for Justas, and that does let Rick through. It nearly let Verstappen through as well. But that was a huge moment for Justas, and he gets a penalty for his trouble, and Marty's retired.
in the same place Campbell dropped it,
Luke,
and we've got a
how's your luck?
safety car. And Luke and Rocco, how do you like your luck? Served hot, I presume. Rick's luck served cold this evening. Same goes for Waluigi. Waluigi was ready to be in 5th place in this race. Or 4th place in this race. He's now going to have to settle for 10th.
Gary
Unless he
would have been
stays out.
gone.
Do you think Gary
would have been
stays out? If I'm Gary, if I think there's a whiff of these
I'd
tyres
stay out.
getting to the end of the race, I'm staying out. Because Nolan's got
I'd
a
stay
penalty,
out.
Nathan's got a penalty, Justas has got a penalty. I wouldn't be confident they're going to gap me by 3 seconds. Gary can take P3 here. Obviously, Nolan's going to stay out.
Nolan stays out. Interesting.
Well, he's recently made a pit stop. So
Do you only get 2 set of inters? You do, don't
3.
you?
No, you get 4 sets of
Oh,
inters.
good.
Three of the full wet. 3 of the full wet, 4 of the inter. So Rocco's coming. Nathan stayed out. Rick stayed
stays
out,
out.
predictably.
Justas
Justas
stays out.
stayed out. Campbell stayed out. Gary stayed out. If Gary came in, then I would have been weeping into
They
the microphone.
obviously think they can get to the end. They obviously do.
And obviously they're confident enough that in these conditions they're not going to get overtaken.
Yeah, the guys at the back have obviously pit because they've got nothing to lose. The moment someone ahead of you pits, you think, well, I might as well do it. If the gap's big, and then so wow.
Just want to say,
Somehow got some interest.
earlier on you said who's going to be the next DNF, and I said Marty. So I will take my £5, please.
You did. You that was a solid but safe prediction. If I'm honest. See, no one wants to pick on Ivo. Who is in danger of falling out of the 90% situation.
The 90% requisite to be classified in this race.
6
So
laps
let's-
and it's over.
I've actually got to bring out the tyre graphic for the first time in this race. Let's look at the state of play. Ibo is on the full wet tyre. It's worth noting at this point. Interesting. Cool. He's now used the inters, the dries, and the wets in a single condition race. So Nolan leads on 3-lap inter. Luke on brand new inter. Nolan has a penalty, of course, as well. Nathan on 34-lap inter. Rick on 3-lap. 34-lap inter for Justas and Campbell as well. 26-lap inters for Gary. 13 laps for Luigi. And then Rocco, Verstappen, RJ and Carl Mentalist all on fresh inter. And I've got to say, I feel sorry for Rocco in this situation. Clearly he's not feeling as racy or aggressive as Justas, Campbell and Nathan are. But Rocco had driven a beautiful race up to this point. I don't think he was ever going to get a podium because Rick would have, if he'd stayed out, because Rick would have been too quick ultimately, I think. But he would have made those moves. And Luke and Nolan would have run away with him. But he was certainly on for P4. He was unchallenged for P4, really.
I'm going to say, I think this has made Rick for the win slightly more confident. I'm going to have to run off very quickly again. I will be back.
Credit to Ibo that he's still 4 laps, being 4 laps of pace, he's still not past Marty stricken Ferrari. We're on to the 2nd or 3rd lap of this SC period so far. Let's check back in with the football scores as we approach half time. It remains 2-2 between Chelsea and Arsenal, 1-0 to Leicester, 1-0 to Newcastle. Still goals between Man City and Brighton. In Ligue 1, PSG have taken the lead at Angers. Nantes leading away to Marseille. Strasbourg still have the lead against Rennes. And in La Liga, it remains 2-0 to Getafe against Celta Vigo. And Osasuna and Real Madrid have just kicked off as well there. So, not too much happening in LOE or in the football world this evening. But we do have a race on our hands. We have an interesting mix of tyres now, which should facilitate some overtaking. We've got Luke has a tyre advantage to Nolan, and then towards the back end of that first stint, Luke was quicker, or was at least matching Nolan's pace lap for lap. And we've got Nathan is going to struggle to hold off a charging Rickerick with 2 penalties to boot as well. And then we've got, what I think will be the battle, is Justas, Campbell and Gary and Waluigi fight off a charging Rocco, Verstappen, RJ and Carl Mentelis. RJ and Carl Mentelis, the ones to watch in that quicker cars on fresher tyres. And Nolan's done the same thing again. He's backed off from the safety car before the sector 3 line, which is causing the safety car to stay out much longer than it should do. Safety car in this lap message again comes late because Nolan backed off far too early. So it's the sector 3 timing line when the SC comes in. Nolan goes early. He lets the car roll towards the last one. He hasn't gone early. He backed off again. He's left himself very vulnerable to Luke as they come down towards turn 1. Nathan sucked into the slipstream as well. Nolan's got a fight on his hands here to hold on to the lead of this race, but I think he's just about managed it thanks to the nature of the turn 1 here. It's single file corner. Nathan had a good look at trying to get past Luke as well, and Rickerick was almost caught out in the process, left himself vulnerable to Justas, but they've all filed through. No changes of position on this opening lap.
Waluigi!
Oh, Waluigi's past Gary, has he? Waluigi and Gary side by side through Dunlop here. I think Waluigi's got this done on the outside. He's just got enough traction to floor the power there. Fabulous stuff from the championship leader. And, well, I was just saying, old school to our lovely viewers, for the second safety car restart in a row, Nolan, knowing the safety car was probably going to come in, backed off too early, let the safety car build a gap before the sector 3 timing line, and in doing so, was in danger of keeping the safety car out until he caught back up to it at the last chicane, when the safety car in this lap message came very late. But twice now, no one's threatened to keep safety car out for an extra lap. So
we have an overtake. Ibo has finally overtaken Marty.
He has indeed, and we could see another one here, because look at this, Rick chasing the back of Nathan. He's got much more straight line speed than that Williams. It's a much less draggy car through 130R. He's got a lot more grip. He's hanging to the back of that Williams. He needs to try and force a move. He tries to spook Nathan into going a little bit deep. The Williams is too wise for that one. But, we got a yellow flag. Someone's round. It's Rocco. The man you said was going to retire from this race next. After driving out of his skin. Well, he's not retired, but he's had a calamitous fall there, back to the back of the field. Ibo notwithstanding. And that's unfortunate for Rocco, but he's driven such a great race up to that point.
Rick, this is pretty pivotal for the chance of the win, because I do believe he's the fastest man on track. I just don't think he's had the air to show it. And if he can get, if Luke is staying with Nolan, and he will see that, well, not at the moment, not on the MFD, but once he gets past Nathan, he will see that, and then that will be a red rag to a bull. So, he does need to get past him.
He does, but I think Nathan is disinclined to give anyone an easy fight today, or any day for that matter. Even with 6 seconds penalties, if Nathan can drag that car screaming by the scruff of its neck to third place on track, he will fight tooth and nail to hold on to that position. And Rick's going to have to try and be a bit of a wise old fox here. He's going to have to force something, although Nathan didn't have quite an ideal line through the exit spoon curve. Rick is within 0.2 of a second as they climb up the hill towards 130R. And if Rick pulls on the inside here, he's hit the back of Nathan. He pulled out too late. And if he's got front wing damage, which wouldn't surprise me, Rick has just thrown away this race. And, Nathan did nothing wrong there. Nathan held his line. Rick was just so lackadaisical pulling out from the back of that Williams.
I think he has. Because, maybe I'm overreacting. No, maybe not. I don't know. I'll tell you what, I've seen wing damage given for less, but Luke is all over the back now. He's got one saving grace, which is Luke might end up battling a bit with Nolan.
If Luke does win this race, which as right now with 15 laps to go looks likely, Luke will have won 3 races in a row to overhaul Waluigi's championship lead, which is a mega performance from the McLaren driver. He's driven the Aston Martin a couple of times this season. I think he's had a whirl in the Ferrari as well, if I'm not mistaken. But he has had a shoddy first sector. He's 1 second behind now.
Nathan, meanwhile, 3.4 seconds behind this battle. So already Nolan looks safely covered for now from Ricky Rich's assault. And he gets past the Williams. He needs to do very, very soon. Campbell's building a bit of a train behind him. Look at Waluigi. Waluigi's been glued to the back of that Haas for a few laps now since safety car restart. On Gary, who's got, well, fairly old tyres, has got Verstappen very close company as well. And what's Rick's gap? 0.4 per second. He's further back than he was last lap through 130R this time, but you can see how much he closes up there towards the braking zone. He's got much more confidence under braking, so much more purchase on the front tyres, slowing the car down. Luke's as fast lap of the race, but he's slow off turn 18 is Rick, and it's going to be another lap. It's going to be another lap again. Nathan covers fresh air down the pit straight. It's going to be another lap for Rick before he can have another assault, because there's no overtaking opportunities now until, well, the hairpin if you're feeling gutsy in the dry, but even then in the wet I don't think we're going to see any overtaking opportunity until that chicane. That is it. That is the one chance for Rick, unless there's a mistake forthcoming.
You say that? I think in the wet we're doing idea. Oh my god, he's giving that tap. Oh my god.
1, then 2, and then Rick backed off to say after you. He was happy to give up the praise. He didn't want to be impolite to Nathan, and and he was in the end far too polite to Justas, who's found his way through into 4th place. And I think, could that be Rick's chance of victory over? No, he's gone straight back for it into the hairpin. Rick, not a happy bunny at all. He didn't want to overtake Nathan, and he ended up letting Justas through. And in the process, Nathan lost 2 seconds to Luke, and it's now 6 seconds between. No. This could be tears between the two of them. Justas not conceding the place initially, and then isn't a fight he fancied. You could tell Rick was seeing red there. Rick back into 4th place, back where he was. And Waluigi there. Completely dropped it.
Massive for the title.
Massive for the title. 14 points lost for Waluigi. Point per lap in Endure. He's lost 14 points. He's not completed 90% of the race, so he's not going to get any scoring points for finishing the race either. So it's going to be just 40 points for Waluigi. Luke is going to pick up 113 if he wins this race. He's going to go from 6.5 points behind to 105.5 points behind, I think.
I thought Justas was a bit Lance Stroll there. Didn't really look really where Rick was, but Rick has had a few moments of desperation. I think Rick feels like he should win this race, and I think that's part of the problem.
Well, he's got another stab at it, because safety car will bunch the field up once again, and once again bring everybody into Nolan's penalty range. Yes, it was my maths failed there. It's 100. So Luke was 6.5 points behind Waluigi. He will be 106.5 ahead were this race to finish as it is right now. So a big swing, and I think in the process that's going to bring Campbell, Verstappen, Car Mentalist, and Rocco all very much into range of Waluigi, possibly ahead of him, or probably ahead of him actually as well. Waluigi's going to plummet like a stone in the championship after this race. Such is the costliness of a DNF, and I know that all too well because I'm sitting like 17th in the championship or something right now. So, as is always the case with LOE, we've got 12 laps to go, and sure as anything, you can't deny LOE a late safety car. Everything bunches up, and everything that came before it's completely irrelevant, because people just drive like nutters when the safety car comes out 25% of the way from the end of the race.
Is Rocco going to pit?
I think he could do. He may as well do. He may as well do, because he's on 5-lap tyres. The thing is, Nathan, Justas and Campbell are kind of locked in now. They're committed to it.
Yeah. No one else is going to pit.
Tell you what, Campbell will get 4th place here, remarkably, after that early spin.
and not looking happy at all. Because remember, he became very detached from that train of Verstappen, Yestas, et al. With Gary behind him, and that was after his spin and the first safety car brought him back into play. So, and now he finds himself on the cusp of a P4 finish with Yestas's penalty and Nathan's 2 penalties. The fact that Campbell could finish 4th in this race has been the quietest yet most meteoric rise of any driver I think I've seen in this race so far.
I think, do you know what's interesting? I'm surprised Carl Mendes didn't pit. Because I'd have been working under the assumption Rocco would.
And
then
Rocco
I suppose,
has
but equally, you
indeed.
could go all the way up. Yeah, you could go all the way up the grid though, thinking that. Maybe you think, well, as far as RJ didn't pit, because he probably worked on the assumption that Rocco's going to pit, so therefore. But no, I've definitely can't remember this. I think you have to assume the guy in last is always going to pit for fresh tyres. So, yeah,
But-
perhaps there's a little bit of a tiny misstep.
In these conditions, though, track position is everything. So it doesn't surprise me too much, because if you see car mentalists come in, I would stay out, because it's so hard to get overtaken. So I'd only pit if I knew the guy ahead wasn't pitting, because track position is the name of the game in these kind of conditions. You can't afford to give it up. I think that's why we saw so many people stay out. At the second safety car, Nathan, Yestas, Campbell and Gary all committing to staying out. Rocco as well.
Can I just say, how slow is this safety car? Because Rocco was caught up to the back of it so quickly, it's going to be in.
Let's watch Nolan's restart. Is he going to do the same again?
Yeah, he has.
He's going to. He stayed close enough this time. The last 2 times he backed off far too early, so he's learned his lesson. Probably got screamed at in the LOE party bus for doing so. But here we go. We've got another restart to hand, and let's see if we have any challenges to be made. I think Rick on Nathan is the obvious one. Luke's happy to give Nolan all the space he needs, and then some, because he knows he can keep with the Ferrari. Nolan has gone indeed, so we're underway, and Campbell has dropped it. I've cursed him. He spun out of turn 17. Oh dear. He was on course for 4th, but I suppose it was written in the stars with that early spin that he wasn't meant to be him in this race. Cal Mentalist very close to the back of RJ there through turns 1 and 2. Verstappen threatening a look at Gary as well. Look how spread it is after safety car already. Yestas 1.7 seconds behind. Gary 1.5 seconds behind Yestas. We're so spread out. Luke's already lost a second to Nolan. What a bizarre safety car restart. We've just got a little Gary train going. But other than that, up front, no one seemed to manage to stay with anybody.
Very odd. I think Rick. Yeah, this is Rick's shot now. He's had a second chance at this. Yestas has lost out massive. This is crazy.
I wonder if there's going to be a Kobayashi moment from Rick. He's just going to send it up the inside of the hairpin on Nathan. He may as well at this point. With Luke winning the race, I think the championship for anybody seems to be like it could be over after this race. Luke's just basically got finished the last 2 races. Easier said than done on this game, but and he would likely take Eloise maiden inaugural Endure title. So what's the gap between Rick and Nathan? It's 2 tenths per second as they come down straight. ERS in action for Rick. He turns it off for the 130R. He's going to follow Nathan as closely as he can through there. Pops the ERS back on. He's going to swing to the right-hand side. He's going to send it, but not late enough. He spooks Nathan, goes a little bit deep. He's now going to set up a better exit, I think, for his AlphaTauri down the main straight. He did get some nice traction. Nolan dips into the 1 minute 39 now. A great exit for Rick. He's played this one perfectly. He just sent Nathan a little bit offline through the chicane, and now he's just got to hang it around the outside of turn 1. Nathan was happy to concede the place. He didn't fancy fighting that one on 44 lap old tyres. And Rick is crucially through, and he's only 3.2 behind Nolan. He's got the move done early. He's well within the window now to push on, and if he's got some pace, he needs it now, and he can still get. Well, he's not going to win this race at the moment, but he can get a P2.
Well, I'll tell you who's in net. Look who's in net 4th.
This man, Eggshell Gary.
L Plan. Unbelievable.
L Plan indeed. He copied his idol Gary's not, well, it wouldn't surprise me if Gary does idolise Gary, but Gary copied his idol, Sebastian Vettel, in spinning at Spoon. But now he's found himself on course for a lovely P4, imitating 2019 Sebastian Vettel. I felt like Vettel was always finishing 4th and 5th those last couple of years at Ferrari, but he's got a feisty train behind him. 35-lap-old Inters for Gary, 8-lap-old Inters for Verstappen, RJ, commentless. 1 lap for Rocco. Rocco's got all of this pace and nothing to do with it because he's stuck in a train where he loves to be in D1. I'm sure where he absolutely would not love to be right now. And is Verstappen going to go for this? Actually, he's very close to the back of Gary, closes right up under braking, has a little lock-up into turn 16. Luke sets a fast lap of the race, exactly what we need. Rick goes even faster, and the gap, we're going to put gap to leader on because it's 3.03 as we come down onto, 9 laps to go now, and Verstappen is where our big on-track moves look like it could be coming from soon because he's very close to the back of XL Gary here. Nothing doing. But Gary's got to be careful here, actually. He's nearly 3 seconds behind Nathan. There's still plenty of time for Nathan to stretch 6 seconds on Gary and take P4 for himself.
Well, this is finally coming to life. But
only took us 45 laps.
Yeah, it only took us a good hour and 15 minutes of our life. But yeah, it's getting a bit fruity. I don't know. I don't know if Gary's going to have to hold on.
Well, he's got a bit out of shape there, out of the hairpin. I think it might have given him a slightly better exit in turn, but he lost some time initially, and then goes defending fresh air as Nathan did down the bendy straight there. Verstappen's not really in a position to threaten any kind of move through Spoon. That Williams just isn't quite good enough, and RJ instead looking like he could get a move done on Verstappen. One mistake here from any of them, and it could be disaster for their race, such as how condensed this train is from Gary down to Rocco. Gary's so slow through one day. We were on board with RJ there. We'll see how much the McLaren and the Williams closed up. Gary's got no confidence on those tyres. They're absolutely shot to bits. Nolan does fast lap of the race, but Luke and Rick are responding sector by sector here. It's going to be so close as to whether Rick gets this P2 or not.
Track's drying.
You think?
There's a dry line.
I'm sure. Well, we've got Ibo to test it out for us if need be. I wonder if anyone's had a radio message that says we don't know if dries or inters are the best tyre right now. We've not had a DRS enabled message. DRS enabled is when the dries are unequivocally quicker. Yeah, but you can get these greasy light rain conditions where the dries are slightly better. Verstappen went a touch deep there through Degner too, and it's just given RJ the exact incentive he needs to have a move towards the hairpin. Verstappen left him a car's width, but RJ didn't fancy going flat out, clobbering that inside curb, but kinked towards the hairpin, and has had to back out of that one, as he can't afford to make a mistake that'll let Car Mentalist through right behind him.
Surprised I didn't get on the overtake a bit quicker there, for at least have a go at a switchback. But yeah, it's Nolan might just do this. Rick is on 2 warnings, by the way, which I think adds a wrinkle. Which might it's just going to neuter him a little bit, isn't it? That's the thing. But Gary's doing a stellar job of keeping himself in contention for a podium. He's got 4th pretty much locked in, as long as he doesn't get overtaken. All he just needs is a mistake from one of the front 3, which, in these conditions, you're never going to rule out, really.
It wouldn't surprise me. Nolan made a mistake, though, on that lap. He was 3.7 ahead of Rick. He's now fell to 3.1 briefly, and then I think Rick had a scruffy turn 1 and 2. And Verstappen's gone there at turn 2, or turn 1 rather. That helps RJ's life. RJ was very close to the back of Verstappen, and now Gary's got a much more threatening opponent behind him. Rather than a Williams on fresh tyres, he's now got a McLaren on fresh tyres, and RJ was clearly quicker than Verstappen anyway. So RJ could get 2 for the price of 1 here, because Gary does not look at all confident, particularly through 130R. Even Verstappen and a lot more pace than the Aston through there. So we'll have to see how this evolves. I think RJ, if he gets a good run through Spoon, will have a great opportunity in towards turn 16 at the end of this lap.
I'm awfully sorry. My bladder is not very strong today. I'm going to have to run to the loo again very quickly, but I will be back.
It is no bother. So let's go aboard with RJ towards Spoon. It's the gap there is a tenth and a half, not even that, as we come into the feely little double apex left-hander. You want to hit that inside curve, particularly in these conditions. It can spear the car out from underneath you, and he's got a better exit than the Aston Martin. And I think this could be taking candy from her baby for RJ. He's within a tenth of a second nearly. He wasn't quite as eager through 130R on that occasion as Gary was, and Gary lives to fight another day. But Gary needs to watch his exits. They're the danger point where he's going to let RJ in. RJ on 27 lap pressure tyres and a much quicker car. And these two are probably closer in absolute pace than Gary and Verstappen. Gary shifts across a little bit to spot his braking point for turn one. Justas and Nathan are really struggling now on those 47 lap hold into. They'll be completely shot to bits, those tyres. And that's brought Gary and RJ into play for fourth and fifth. I said Nathan had a chance to run away from Gary. He was 3 seconds ahead of the Aston Martin. It's now closed right back up. They are nose to tail, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth place. But no one's making a mistake right now. It's only Verstappen that's done that. And Gary was a bit out of shape through Dunlop, and RJ had a sniff of a chance through Degner 1, but it's such a short braking zone. You can't really make a move there unless the other guy is very generous. To get up very early in the morning to have any kind of attempted overtake there, particularly on someone as racy as XL Gary. But look at that, Car Mentalist has caught a sniff of a chance on RJ. Now the Alpine snuck his way through, even though it looked like there was no opening. RJ didn't really fall back from Gary, but Car Mentalist still found his way, and he's now having a look at Gary towards Spoon Curve as RJ's lost another place there to XL Rocco. Didn't look like there was a clear mistake. He was just caught napping, was the McLaren, and Gary has a big moment out of Spoon Curve, and Carmental's will be licking his lips here. He's going to get a second place. He's going to try around the outside of 130R. Who's going to be braver on the tyres? Carmental is only 12 laps old. He doesn't fancy going side by side through that, but you can see out, and he hits the back of Gary. He should have kept his foot in it. He should have challenged it more. And Nathan gets caught out of shape in towards Casio Triangle. We've got RJ round in the background. He's had a spin. Justas passes Nathan. Carmentalist nearly passes Gary. Should have passed Gary. And then Gary has a big moment. And now Carmentalist is past Gary. And Old School 3000, you've missed some cracking overtake. Justas past Nathan. Carmentalist has passed Gary and RJ. And RJ then had a spin at 130R. It's been a dramatic lap in this race. I'll tell you what, Nolan's out of Luke's penalty window as well. All changed.
Crazy. Nolan's found this pace from absolutely nowhere in the wet. I've back Rick in the wet. I'm amazed. I'm absolutely amazed, but fair play to him.
Oh, Nathan's very out of shape there through Dunlop, and Carmentalist takes his third place in 2 laps, up into 5th now. He's not going to go any further, because even if he passes Justas, it's a 12-second ride up the road to Rickerick. But all the same, what a couple of laps from Carmentalist. His move on RJ was pure opportunism, very cheeky, but he made it work into the hairpin. It looked like RJ was going to go for a move on Gary, and he was just completely caught napping by the Alpine. But fabulous stuff from Carmentalist. You
have to wonder, Carmentalist is aggressive wheel to wheel, Justas is very aggressive wheel to wheel. Does Carmentalist kind of think, hang on, I can't do much better than this anyway, let's just sit behind him? Probably not. But it's probably the sensible play.
I think after the race he's had, Carmentalist being at the back with RJ for so long will fancy another position. Gary, who was looking on course for P4, has been mugged by Rocco into the last chicane. Attention, please. There's been a robbery. And there goes Carmentalist robbing 4th place off Justas there, not even needing turn 1. He's got the move done nice and early. Justas would have had a shoddy exit there out of turn 18.
So, this is what's interesting, is that the gap is 3.2, but Nolan has nearly used all of his ERS. Now, if Luke doesn't finish this race with 10%, I will shout at him, frankly.
Well, yeah, he's got it to use, so he may as well use it up. We've got 3.5 laps to go. Nolan, let's bring the telemetry up for the first time in this race, down to 20%. Luke's on 65 and not using it, and there he goes. He pops it on now, but only briefly. He could have used that for a lot longer. And I think Rick's got to be conscious of the fact he's only got 3 laps to use. It says in the wet, it's hard to burn it as quickly as it is in the dry. He's got plenty of airs to burn. He may as well use it, but he's not. He doesn't seem too willing to do so right now. We could see another move further back because Nathan, on the 49 lap old tyres, is really struggling. Him and Justas are properly suffering now. Rocco looks like he could regain those places he lost with that spin as RJ passes QVR Campbell. Campbell's looking like he could finish 4th in this race. Then Gary. Rocco, even earlier, was looking like he could finish 4th in this race. Instead, it's going to be Car Mentalist, which is a name none of us were mentioning for this race. And here goes Rocco. He pulls out to the inside of Nathan towards second to last corner. Nathan goes a little bit deep defensive. We're going to see a perfect copy here of what Rick did to Nathan. I don't think so, because Rocco didn't get a particularly great exit through turn 18 and has to back off for another lap. But certainly Nathan very much under pressure here, and Rocco is looking for any opportunity. Pushing Nathan out of the way there almost through turn 2, and he didn't need a second invitation because he's taken the first chance he got. Rocco upper place. Gary's through as well. That 8 lap fresher tyres paying dividends now, because I think the 50 lap tyres are absolutely knackered, if I can use that word. They have got nothing left in them whatsoever. Nathan sliding down the order. RJ passes Verstappen now. Past Campbell last lap, Verstappen now. And RJ recovers to 9th place after he also too could have finished in P4. Everyone threatened to finish in P4 in this race. As it is, it looks like it's going to be Car Mentalist.
Yeah, everyone has been on for at least P4. Luke needs to use. He just needs to use. Nolan can't. And watch this gap. It's going to start leaking and leaking and leaking and leaking. Crazy. It's going to be 2 tenths by the... Yeah, 2 tenths. So, and that's 2 tenths for 20%, and he's got 20% more, and he's 3.3. So, it's close.
We've only got 2 laps to go now, and you say no one will likely be sweating this. Luke not using his ERS down the pit straight, though, which surprises me. Rick is well and truly dropped off in this one. I think Rick is settled 3rd place. Have we got any other battles going on? I don't think so. I think we've got... Well, we can reach for a battle, say Verstappen and Campbell are going to go at it for P10, but really, as Campbell cut both parts of the chicane there, cheeky, turn 16 and 17. Really, our battle is to see if Luke can close in on Nolan, but I don't want to say this much, but I think this could be your order, at least on track. I think we may just be looking at our final result with a lap and a half to go.
I don't know. I think the top 3 will not finish in this order. It's my prediction. Brave prediction.
I think you've got to count on a mistake from Nolan for that. I wouldn't put it past him, but he's driven well enough so far, and he stretched his gap here to 3.7 seconds. Speaking of 3, it's now 3-2 to Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. Goals galore in the 57th minute there. We've got a yellow flag. That is Campbell round. He's taken another spin, his 3rd of the evening, this time at Dunlop, and he slips back into P11. So there was a battle between him and Verstappen Brewing. It has completely petered out, and the gap towards the last lap, 3.5 seconds between Nolan and Luke. Luke needs the mother of all laps, and he's got 36% ERS to use between now and the checkered flag. Nolan has got absolutely nothing. Wow,
this is crazy. He's gaining so much. He's gaining like 3 temps nearly. It's going to be tight. I tell you what, Luke just needs a good solid sector 2. If he can keep it at 3.2, 3.3, if it goes to 3.5, it's Nolan's.
Well, Luke was showing really good pace towards the end of the final stint. He's not managed to replicate that on this fresh set of inters, and he's on 4-lap fresher tyres. He should have more of an advantage than he's showing right now. I think he's just struggling for pace a little bit. He's kept it at 3.3, 3.4. It is just below that 3.5 second mark, but I think we could be seeing Nolan just edge out victory here as he comes through the hairpin for the final time. He did go a little bit deep, it looked like, but probably not enough to threaten his position as leader of this race. Luke's got ERS2s. You've got 38%. Burn, man. Burn your ERS. Fight for this victory. 3.6 seconds now, and as much as he's got to use, it's not going to be enough because Nolan has had a little bit in pocket coming out of Spoon as well. And Luke's going to finish this race with well over 10% ERS, I think. He's turning off well before 130. He only gained a tenth there. It is going to be XL Nolan XL Nolan. Oh God! It's going to be Nolan just Wi-Fi who wins this race by 3.6 seconds from Luke. He fended off that late charge from the McLaren, wins by 6 seconds a second. Rickerick takes third place, fastest lap of the race on the last lap. And what could have been if he hadn't made that pit stop? Rocco and Justas are going to go at it into the last chicane, and Justas will defend that with his life. Rocco doesn't care. He's going to barge him out of the way there, but Justas, I think, is going to hold on. Rocco's not using his ERS towards the line, and Justas does hold on track. Rocco got him on penalties anyway. It's Carl Mentless fourth, Rocco fifth, Gary sixth, Justas seventh, RJ takes eighth from Nathan, who had penalties. Verstappen will be 10th. Campbell will finish a miserable race in 11th. Ibo will come home 4 laps down. He is going to be within 90% of the complete race distance. Championship leader, ex-championship leader now, Waluigi was our last DNF, and then Marty, Noah J, Major, and Larkin also retiring. Larkin retiring on the second lap. Not a good day for those last two XL guys. But Nolan taking a sterling victory there. He may have had a favourable car, but he still had to keep the boat between the white lines for 53 laps, and he did that very well indeed.
What a mad race. What a mad race. Well, he was pretty much, I think he was arguably the favourite, along with Major, in my eyes anyway. Noah J obviously surprised us. And someone come fourth, which obviously was coincidence, but anyone could have come fourth at any point, I think.
I forgot that Noah J was leading this race at one point. It was that long ago. But yeah, the amount of drivers that could have finished in fourth place was staggering. Even Rick looked like he could have ended up in fourth place at one point if he couldn't switch those tyres on. I'd say the only people who looked completely free of fourth place at all times were Noah J, who was either first or last, Nolan and Luke. Everyone else flirted with it at some point. Nathan ran there for a long time, but of course had his 6 seconds of penalties. So, to summarise, Nolan is your race winner. Second, third and fourth on the grid finish. First, second and third, just take Noah J out of the equation. They are as they started. Carl Mentlist had a chaotic race to rise from 7th to 4th, but although he spent most of the race in the back after he had that wing change under the safety car. Rocco went from 5th to 5th, but had an exciting time in all of that. 14th to 6th for Gary, Justas 7th, RJ 8th, Nathan 9th, Verstappen 10th, Campbell 11th, Ibo 12th. So only 12 finishes, and then Waluigi, Marty, Noah J, Major, and Larkin, your DNFers. And of course, Noah J was our pole sitter, but characteristically for him in a Mercedes this season, in Endure, he hasn't managed to finish the race. And the big news at the end of that is that Luke 05 HD, he may not have won his third race on the bounce, but he has taken the lead of the championship, and comfortably so now, from Waluigi, after he failed to finish in the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, I think that is it's his to lose now. I think everyone would argue. We don't do podium interviews, do we?
We do not do podium interviews.
Excellent.
Yes, there's a very exciting football game. I'm sure you're eager to get off to.
Absolutely, but I just I feel bad because Nolan doesn't often win, especially in the wet. Last time he had a wet race, it was that I remember it was against me in TTML, and I actually schooled him. So
I know, knowing Nolan, he would love nothing more than to come in for a podium interview. But we are a bureaucracy at LOE, and we're sticklers for procedure. There are no podium interviews in Endure. We make no exceptions. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I suppose that summarises our season or our evening rather. We've got 2 races to go, which I believe are Spa and Brazil at Sao Paulo. So 2 very exciting and popular tracks to round the season off. I'm sure I'll be back in the car for the next one in 3 weeks' time. But pleasure to commentate alongside you, my friend, as always.
Absolutely, it was fun. Enjoyed it.
Despite the wet weather that failed to make itself go away, we did have good fun. We hope you enjoyed watching as well.
And I just want to say one last thing. You all said that Ivor would crash, and he didn't. Who's laughing now?
Exactly. And I'm amazed that Calvin got through that race without crashing or spinning as well, because it's very uncharacteristic of Calvin as well. And then Waluigi crashing out in qualifying and the race. It's like we live in some kind of weird LOE mirror world right now. But yes, thank you all for tuning in. Been a pleasure. But from myself and from Old School, until next time, whenever that may be, I'm sure we'll be back with RJ and Ivor Bread Mike at Spa. But until next time from us, thank you for watching and goodbye.